yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman may proceed.
Madam Speaker, when the House last discussed Lebanon on September 25th, I said that Lebanon was being bullied. That statement, though true, is insufficient. Lebanon is not being harassed by invisible worldly forces. Lebanon is not a victim of fate or destiny or bad luck. Lebanese politicians and public figures, beginning with Rafik Hariri and continuing to this day, are not being assassinated and blown away by falling meteors or volcanic eruptions. Arms do not appear in Lebanon by magic. Hezbollah's billions do not fall from the sky like rain. Palestinian terrorist groups don't find rifles falling out of trees or by the side of the road. The Fatah al-Islam and its war against the Lebanese state were not the product of spontaneous autogenesis. Like maggots, their origin can escape the casual observer, but their birth was no accident or mystery. Syria and Iran are responsible for these crimes. Syria and Iran are responsible for the chaos. Syria and Iran are to blame for the shadow of civil war that hangs over Lebanon. Lebanese politics are complex, and the interaction within and among confessions is daunting for the outside observer to contemplate. Where interest and principle merge and depart is hard to judge. But we know some things about Lebanon for certain, and they are spelled out clearly in the resolution at hand. Despite Lebanon's constitution, Syria demanded the extension of President Emil Lahoud's term in 2004, and Damascus got its way. The principal opponent of this grotesque intrusion into Lebanon's affairs was Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. There is credible evidence uncovered by UN investigators showing that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad first threatened and then ordered the assassination of Rafik Hariri for his defiance of Syrian diktat. Madam Speaker, I'm just waiting for order.
Oh, the House will be in order.
In response to the murder of Hariri, and let us remember 22 other civilians, the Lebanese rose up against their Syrian overlords and demanded, with the full support of the international community, the expulsion of Syria's occupational forces. A new government was formed through a free and fair election, led by Lebanese, not in the service of Syria and not in the debt of Iran. This development, both surprising and hopeful, of a Lebanon free to chart its own course, was one that Syria and Iran couldn't tolerate. In their minds, Lebanon is a fiefdom, a toy. Lebanon is a playground for their ambitions and a canvas on which to splash their rage and hatred for the United States and Israel in the modern world. Lebanon, in the minds of Syria's overlords and Iran's ayatollahs, is not for the Lebanese. And this intolerance, this greedy self-interest, this bitter contempt for the rights of others, is why we are speaking of Lebanon in the U.S. House of Representatives again today. Lebanon is in grave peril. Lebanon's independence and sovereignty are under attack by Syria and Iran and their bootlegging Lebanese proxies. Hezbollah, Amal, and the Aounist bloc, extra-legally demanding control of the presidency and threatening civil war, this coalition of the wicked and the selfish have a guidance and terror to Lebanon. It need not be so. It should not be so. Syria and Lebanon are responsible for the crisis in Lebanon. Syria and Iran are responsible for the crisis in Lebanon. They have trampled on Lebanon's sovereignty, and in doing so have clearly violated UN Security Council resolutions protective of Lebanon. They are the puppet masters pulling on the strings of Hezbollah, Amal, and Aoun. The assassinations of Lebanese members of parliament are their work. The bombings are their work. The threats to establish an extra-legal second government are their work. Madam Speaker, there is no mystery here. There is evil, there is greed, there is indecency, and were I Lebanese, I might say treason as well. But there is no mystery. Syria and Iran are attacking Lebanon's sovereignty no less than if they sent a fleet of bombers or a wave of tanks or a swarm of infantry. that this aggression, this naked aggression, is being done by proxies and by terrorists, by car bombs, by telephone threats, does not make it any less aggression or any less a crime. Many vital interests of the United States are at stake. If we want every nation to be secure in its own borders, we cannot tolerate cross-border aggression. If we want to see the Middle East at peace, we cannot tolerate the resumption of Syrian and Iranian control of Lebanon. If we want to encourage self-governance around the world, we cannot tolerate Lebanon's democracy being subverted by thugs and fanatics. And if we want to see people rising up against tyranny, as they are today in Burma, we cannot tolerate the reversal of Lebanon's glorious Cedar Revolution. If we want to see the United Nations become a true guardian of peace among nations, we cannot tolerate the will of the international community being scorned by rogue states. America must lead. Even today, even with Iraq, there is still no other state that can mobilize the international community as can the United States, and the hour is desperate. Only if they are convinced that the world will not tolerate their aggression against Lebanon will Syria and Iran back down. The outcome is not impossible. The stakes are exceedingly high, and it is my hope that the Lebanese government and the Bush administration will see this debate in the House as proof that Congress is watching closely and that we stand ready to help secure Lebanon's future as an independent and sovereign state. If we want to end the bloodshed in Lebanon and foreclose the prospect of still greater violence, we must act now and in concert with the community of nations. There is wide support for Lebanon, both in Europe and the Arab and Muslim worlds, just waiting for a catalyst to give it expression. America must be that catalyst. We are here today to sound the wake-up call. A brighter future for Lebanon, for the Middle East, and for ourselves await our clarion call. Madam Speaker, I urge our colleagues to support the resolution and reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from South Carolina is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I yield my